Greetings at Cheating Story Lab. Share your location below and describe if you've ever confronted someone's lies in public. The adage claims truth brings freedom, but sometimes it shatters the trust built with those close to us, especially when the one lying is our sleeping partner. I am Chris, and this narrative revolves around how my wife's words served as proof that saved me from losing all I had worked for during my life. Melissa and I had been married for 8 years when our relationship began to unravel. Unbeknownst to me, the dissolution was not spontaneous but meticulously orchestrated, with a level of planning suggestive of someone who had been preparing this moment longer than I could have ever envisioned. It started subtly. Melissa grew detached, frequently engrossed in her phone and working late more often. Common indicators, indeed, but Melissa was clever. She wasn't merely having an affair, she was gathering evidence. Each dispute, every instance of friction, every minor disagreement was being captured, photographed, and saved by her. I learned about the affair initially. Her name was Ashley, a co-worker from her marketing firm. Upon noticing some suspicious credit card transactions, I enlisted the aid of a private investigator. The images returned depicted what one would anticipate: hotel rooms, restaurants, weekend excursions, supposedly work conferences. However, it wasn't this revelation that was heart-wrenching. It was the devastating discovery that Melissa had been surreptitiously recording our private conversations for months. I stumbled upon the app on her phone quite by accident. We had left it charging in our kitchen while she was showering, and a notification from Voice Recorder Pro appeared on the screen, piquing my curiosity. Upon opening it, I found myself feeling chilled to the bone, file after file of our conversations. Disagreements, financial discussions, instances where I expressed frustration or exhaustion. Yet, these weren't entire conversations. She edited out her provocations, insults, and arguments, leaving only recordings of me appearing angry, controlling, and shouting. It seemed she was gathering evidence for our divorce case. However, I stumbled upon a lucky break, or perhaps the universe intervened. While sifting through her files, I accidentally selected the wrong recording. Instead of one of our conversations, I heard Melissa discussing with Ashley about their scheme. She stated that the recordings were flawless. She had hours of me appearing angry and controlling. My lawyer mentioned this would significantly benefit our financial situation due to my alleged gambling habits, which I facilitated by transferring money to an offshore account, as well as these audio files. The house and at least 70% of his business, along with permanent alimony, were within her grasp. Ashley's voice was audible, discussing the hidden funds. That's the fortunate part, she added. For 6 months, I've been transferring funds from our shared accounts, in small increments yet accumulating significantly. Eventually, he will believe that he owes me money instead of the other way around. I'll assert that he concealed assets from me. My hands trembled as I listened. This wasn't mere infidelity. It was fraud, theft, and a devastating dismantling of everything I had constructed, orchestrated by the person I held most dear in this world. However, the recording persisted. The most promising aspect is his business, Melissa emphasized. I have been gathering evidence. Every late-night work session, each weekend he spent at work instead of with family, and every instance where he prioritized work over family time. My lawyer believes I can argue that I forfeited my career for his success, entitling me to half of everything he has amassed. He remains oblivious to the storm brewing, and if he contests it, he will lose. I have all the evidence: his financial recklessness, emotional detachment, and anger issues. He'll be fortunate if he retains his tools. I sat in our kitchen, listening as my wife outlined her plan for dismantling my life. I understood I had 2 possible responses. I could reveal my knowledge to her, allowing her to erase evidence and devise fresh tactics, or I could let her continue with her scheme while I prepared a counterattack. Opting for the latter, I swiftly transferred the recording onto my own device and made multiple backups. Then I took an unexpected action. I engaged a forensic accountant and began meticulously documenting every transaction, concealed account, and altered record. The subsequent 3 weeks were the most arduous of my life. Sitting opposite her at dinner, I watched her smile warmly and express affection while I knew she was orchestrating my downfall. I maintained a normal facade throughout, went to work, returned home, engaged in conversations that I now understood she was recording, yet I was also secretly recording. When the divorce papers were served to me, I played my role flawlessly, feigning shock, hurt, and bewilderment. She questioned if a resolution was possible, to which she delivered a speech detailing numerous issues: my overbearing nature, excessive work focus, constant anger, and alleged hidden assets. With feigned sadness, she mentioned having evidence, the first court appearance being a preliminary hearing. Her attorney arrived armed with a dossier brimming with evidence: edited recordings, financial documents suggesting gambling issues, photographs depicting me as tired or stressed, which she claimed exposed my anger problems. The judge attentively listened, Melissa appearing victimized, occasionally dabbing her eyes while her lawyer portrayed me as an abusive, controlling husband with hidden assets and a gambling problem. Upon my turn to respond, my attorney merely stated, "Your Honor, we'd like to present some evidence of our own." It was then that I noticed the first hint of Melissa's unease. Her lawyer looked puzzled as my attorney continued, "Your Honor, we have grounds to suspect Mrs. Throughout their marriage, Thompson has intentionally fabricated false evidence and committed financial fraud." As the judge showed interest, a request for audio evidence was made. Mrs. Thompson herself had recorded her entire plan, it was argued. Melissa's expression shifted from perplexity to understanding to sheer terror in just a few seconds, prompting an immediate objection from her attorney. The issue was that this evidence hadn't been provided during the discovery process. In response, my lawyer stated that the evidence was found on Mrs. Thompson's personal device and implicated criminal activity, suggesting it was admissible under the immediate disclosure exception. After a brief pause, the judge agreed. "Let the recording play." My lawyer produced a portable speaker and placed it on the table. The recording, discovered on Mrs. Thompson's phone, was made around 3 weeks ago, he announced before hitting play. The courtroom filled with Melissa's voice, undeniably clear. The recordings are flawless. Spending hours watching him erupt in anger, exhibiting control, I observed her face as her own words incriminated her. All color vanished. Her attorney's pen paused mid-stroke. Even the court reporter halted, stunned. The recording played for nearly 4 minutes, revealing every aspect of her scheme, each fabricated lie, every dollar she had stolen, and all evidence manipulated. She spoke cheerfully, boasting about her plan to ruin my life and take everything I had earned. The courtroom fell silent upon its conclusion. The judge addressed Melissa. "Mrs. Thompson, is that your voice on this recording?" Stunned, Melissa could not respond. Her attorney whispered something to her. "I need to confer with my counsel, Your Honor." "Yes, you do," the judge replied. "Mr. Thompson, do you have further evidence to support these allegations?" My lawyer provided the forensic accountants. All the concealed transactions, tampered documents, false statements about alleged gambling were uncovered, verified, and documented. However, Melissa's own recording stood out as the most incriminating evidence. In her own terms, she confessed to fraud, theft, perjury, and conspiracy. The judge addressed both lawyers. "I need to thoroughly examine this evidence, but I want to make it clear. If even a fraction of what has been presented today is valid, we're no longer discussing a divorce case, but potentially criminal charges." Melissa spoke up. "Your Honor, that recording was obtained without my consent, Mrs. Thompson," the judge countered. "The recording was made by you on your device, detailing your plan to commit fraud against your husband and perjury in this courtroom. I advise you to consult your attorney about matters beyond divorce proceedings." The hearing concluded, but it was clear that the case had reached its end. After departing the courtroom, Melissa's lawyer barely gave her a glance. 2 hours later, my phone rang, and it was Melissa. "Chris, we may need to discuss something, perhaps. I believe there might be a way for us to resolve this issue without returning to court." "Really?" I responded. "Because just 3 hours ago you were telling the judge about how manipulative and dominating I had been." "Mistakes," she said. "You've committed numerous felonies, Melissa. You've taken money from our accounts, fabricated proof, and lied in court. Those aren't mistakes, that's fraud." There was a moment of silence on the other end. "What do you want?" she eventually asked. "I want you to sign an uncontested divorce settlement. You get nothing, no alimony, no property, no business assets. You return every dollar you stole, and pray I don't decide to press criminal charges." "You can't be serious." "I am. You have a recording of yourself admitting to multiple crimes, Melissa. Your own evidence has convicted you." 6 weeks later, the divorce decree was signed by Melissa without any dispute. She returned the money she had embezzled, waived all claims to my business and our home, and agreed to pay her own legal fees. However, that's not the end of the tale. 3 months after the finalization of our divorce, I received a call from Ashley. It was discovered that Melissa had been recording our conversations as well. Ashley wanted to meet with me, revealing her intention to harm me. She disclosed that she had recordings of me discussing my decision to leave my husband, details about our relationship, and even aspects concerning my employment. She intended to utilize all this information if I ever decided to end things with her. What do you mean? She was blackmailing me, Chris. She made it clear that if I were to terminate the relationship with her, she would send those recordings to my husband, my supervisor, everyone. She threatened to ruin my life in the same manner she planned to ruin yours. Ashley and I found ourselves ensnared by someone who treated relationships like contests to be won and people as disposable tools. Subsequently, Melissa shifted jobs at a marketing company in another city. Ashley reconciled with her spouse and relocated elsewhere. Regarding myself, I gleaned a significant lesson from this ordeal. Frequently, the person who appears to have all the power is actually playing a rigged game. Occasionally, their overconfidence serves as proof that saves you. The incriminating recording remains stored in 3 distinct locations. Not to reuse it, but to be reminded that truth has a knack for emerging, even from the unlikeliest of sources. The mastermind behind my downfall ended up unwittingly providing the evidence that brought her undoing. Ironically, she remained oblivious to the recording's existence until she heard her voice incriminating herself in court. Occasionally, justice doesn't stem from a struggle. It can be a gift, unbeknownst to the giver. That's my narrative. Share your experiences below. Have you ever chanced upon proof of deception that the offender unwittingly produced? How did you deal with it? Remember to subscribe for additional genuine tales of deceit, retribution, and justice. Thanks for tuning in.